Spaff off starch by rubbing up against each other. Getting on, mate? Yeah, doing good. How are you? Yeah, cool. The rice is hard. Oh, so much salt. Spunky risotto, here we come. Recording! You know, sometimes when you wake up and you feel absolutely like a fruity monster. Today is one of those days. We're gonna make a risotto using Arborio Rice. Basically, I had a question from someone and they said, can you show us how to sort of like prepare something for people so it doesn't get overcooked by the time you serve it to them? And I thought, you know what? A risotto is a wonderful little lesson. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a risotto. Let's get the whiteboard. I'm a visual kind of guy. One thing that I love to do in cooking is the idea of making a base recipe. That's a good circle. So what we're gonna do is make a base risotto. In the base risotto, I don't think about where it's gonna end up. If you were, say, for example, making a fish risotto, what you would do is you would have your onions and your garlic, and then you would have your rice, and then you'd probably have some vino. I haven't got any vino, so we're not gonna add wine. But from there, what you would do is you'll go, right, what am I taking it? Fish, okay? Or veg, or meaty, and that would normally direct you to what flavour stock you're going to use. So if you're going to do a fish one, would you want a nice light fish stock, or are you going to use something that's like deep and earthy, like a crab? Then if you're going to do a veg one, obviously you're going to use veg stock. If you're going to do a meaty, then you're probably going to go down a chicken stock, or maybe like a light beef broth. It is completely up to you. But what I like to do, and this may rub a few people up there the wrong way, let's scrap fish, let's scrap meaty, and let's go veg. We're an inclusive society in the kitchen. If you make a fantastic veggie-based risotto start, then you can add all of the flavourings and oomph later on, all right? So we'll get to this point where we'll have our risotto base. Then what I'm going to show you how to do is we're going to talk about what things you do in kitchens, where you take something like cook it 3/4 of the way, then after that, how do you reheat that little schmoozy woozy and get it absolutely sexy thunder? Off you go, whiteboard, you've done your job for now. Right, so onions. Always good to start with an onion. So I'm going to do 2. Oh, some fantastic noises coming from around the studio. That sounded like a seagull had just eaten a massive chip and really enjoyed himself. I've got a saucepan of water here. This is going to be my stock. Get that on the little tickle. So onions, hand control, hand like this, scrunch. The knife is going to do this motion. Tip, heel, tip, heel, tip, heel. And also what you'll do is you'll rub up against this first knuckle here. So up and down motions as well, like this. If you go too high, you'll be like this. Yeah. No need to go fast. You could go like this to start off with. Who cares? We'll still get to the same place. So when chefs go like, yeah, yeah, I'm a chef. Whack, you watch me chop, yeah. Who cares? Who cares if you can chop fast? There we go, lovely, done. You go in there, mate. Oh, rim job. Never do that. Onions go in. Always sweat your onions off before you add your garlic. I'm sure there's going to be loads of Italians out there. They'll be like, you don't know to put the garlic in the risotto. But mate, I couldn't give a shit. If you like what garlic tastes like, stick it in. So, nice and gently cook that down. While that's happening, we can talk more. So, what you got to think, this is a grain of rice. The rice is hard. To start off with, what you want to do is make the rice taste of something. How do you make the rice taste of something? You let flavours penetrate deep internal. The stock that you're going to be adding is where the flavour is going to be. If you think of basmati rice, for example, you want those to be nice individual grains, kind of like a dry texture. Oh, you've got to stick with me here because this is just a new thought, my brain's hurting already. By cooking basmati rice in a certain amount of liquid, all you're doing is basically like steaming that rice and not agitating it at all. By not agitating it, what it's doing is it's not releasing any of its starch, okay? Stick with me, starch. When you put risotto rice into a pan and you mixy, what will happen is it will agitate, this is weird, these risotto rice grains are having like a little sexy time, spaffing off starch, all right? Spaff off starch by rubbing up against each other. As you mix it, they're going, oh yeah. That is what makes a creamy risotto. If you just put the rice in, put the stock in and cooked it, you'll get individual grains of risotto rice, fantastic, but no creaminess. That's why you add the stock slow and steady so you can agitate at a nice steady rate. Get out of the way, mate. Spunky risotto, here we come. So, this is Arborio rice. Do you need to wash it? Nah. I always make too much. I don't really care. Turn the heat down, he says. Turn you down. And then we're just going to gently toast the rice. Now, one thing I didn't do is season the onions. What? The rice, we want it to absorb flavours. So if you're just putting water in there, your rice is just going to taste of water. So make it nice and sexy. My stock is tasting shit because I haven't done anything to it. I'm just going to go Knorr and Oxo cubes, so neither of them can use this content. So evil! Right, get in there, mate. So that's our stock ready. I'm not going to show you the whole process because it's utterly boring. Oh. So that is basically the amount of stock that you want to add to start off with. So it's literally just covering the rice. You don't have to sit there all day and go, give it a little mix, go, yeah, how you getting on, mate? Yeah, doing good, how are you? Yeah, cool. It's already absorbing that liquid. When you can see no stock in this part here, that's when you can start adding more. So this is probably going to take about 30-40 minutes from start to finish of doing this process. I normally stand here with a glass of Vino Collapso, have a little vino. I don't condone unresponsible drinking, but I do condone getting absolutely. So what I want you to see with risotto cooking is there's loads of little small nuances within. And to someone cooking risotto, they'll be like, oh, this is almost there. But it's looking like risotto. What you'll see at this stage is it's still really, really like white. You can see on this one here, the edge is starting to just go a little bit translucent. If you was to eat one of these pieces of rice, it is still rock solid, okay? But what will start to happen, if you give it a squidge between your fingers, you'll see that the outside is just starting to give. So if you think that's probably halfway cooked, and we're gonna do that again, and this will make sense later on when I explain about stopping things at certain points. That's run out of gas. I'm gonna put this over here, and we'll pretend that we're cooking there in a bit. All right, bye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here, this stage right now, you can see this sort of like pool of delicious starchy liquid. That's what you're looking for. That's probably been on there for about 30 minutes. So if you're doing this, like the whole premise of this video was to tell you that if you're doing this for a dinner party, or what they do in restaurants, is you've got to think, people don't cook things to order, all right? So they're not gonna go, run risotto. 45 minutes later, fucking Gary's still sitting there adding stock going, 2 minutes, chef. No, they're gonna cook it to a certain point and then they're gonna cool it down. So the easiest way to cool something is to create surface area. So surface area allows things to cool quickly, thus cooling quickly. Pretty common sense, isn't it? But now what you got to think is this is 3/4 of the way cooked. So when you come to service, i.e. serving people, all you're gonna have to do is take a little bit of this, add a bit of stock, and then we're gonna finish it. Tasty. You'll eat that and you'll go, that's uncooked. Perfect. I've got some mushrooms here, portobellos or some flat mushrooms and some chestnuts. This is the point where you want to add some sexual flavours. Someone said the other day when I was cooking something on social media, oh my God, oil and mushrooms to fry. I was like, well, how else do you fry them? So if you just put them into a pan, it's going to boil. Some people say things on social media that make you question your existence as a chef. So I'm just going to fry these off. And then another variation that we can do, we'll do it at the same time, might as well. I've had these for ages. Sun-dried tomatoes, got them in a little pan of water. Let's get you on the heat. Mushrooms are cooking, a little bit of salt in there. Oh, so much salt. I'm gonna do a video about seasoning one day. Okay, so mushrooms are cooking down. Now, what you don't wanna do is like agitate your mushrooms too much. You've got to think of mushrooms like sponges, okay? If they've got lots of lube in them, which they do, then the more you cook them, the more you push them about, they're gonna like leak out. But what you wanna do is just let them fry away. So when I went to a mushroom farm, there was different, I think they're called flushes, which they're where they grow. So they obviously grow out of whatever they grow, the mycelium or whatever it is. And they have 3 flushes where they can pick them. Now the first flush comes from quite a moist soil. So if you imagine how it grows, therefore the mushroom's gonna be slightly moist, okay? The second flush, not so much moisture in the mycelium or the soil, so therefore it's going to be a bit drier. The third flush is kind of like they're only the final one that can take, but they're a bit more dry. So when I was speaking to the mushroom grower, he was just like, the third one's my favourite because they feel like they've got a bit more punch to them. They feel like they're like really struggling to grow and they've got a load of flavour in them. There you go, there's a bit of shit information for you. Right, mushrooms are cooking, so all we need to do is make this taste sexy and our risotto will take care of the rest. So I'm just going to lob some garlic through. So when it gets to this stage, I like to turn the heat off completely. That garlic, I like to just sort of like soften down in the residual heat of stuff. Lovely. Then my sun-dried tomatoes here, which I just started to soften down. Don't ever do this with your knife, you absolute twat, Martin. Into the second risotto, what I'm thinking, oh, let's put that in, some mouldy leaves, and my little pot of festering cheese. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna drain these. These are gonna be really hot. Oh God. This is what happens when my brain starts going. I end up like using too many things. What am I even doing? Okay, garlic's gonna go into here. These tomatoes, I'm just gonna roughly chop these. So I've got these got feta and olives. So all I'm gonna do is just sort of like pinch them. It doesn't have to be complicated, does it? Life's not complicated. So here's our 2 little things. We've got the tomato one here, and we've got a mushroom one here. Perfect. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish a risotto, and I'm gonna show you how to add these through it. So I've used absolutely every single pan, just for shits and giggles. Okay, so here is your risotto. Look at that, it's cooled. And now it's a case of just reheating this with a little bit of stock, and then you've got butter, Parmigiano here. And then this is where you can really go for it. Now, the technique, oh, I'm getting splattered, getting absolutely spaffed on. The technique that I like to do here is kind of like back and forward and then circles like that. And then what it will do is it will make it go even more creamy, and that's what you want, even more creamy. So a pinch of salt, a bit more pepper. So I know this is like a minute off. Mushrooms are going in, so let that gently go. Bit of parsley. So at this stage, you don't really need to mix it too hard because you've already done all the sexy spunking, like I said earlier. Go on, mate, in you go. Right, and a little sexy addition. Really good with something like a risotto because it's got quite a lot of like fatty notes through it. Just needs a little tickle of fresh lemon. I really feel like it really lifts the risotto, gives it that kind of like fresh hit. Super simple. There you go. Plop that on the plate. And then they give it a little bit of fresh Parmigiano. There you go. How sick is that? Oh yeah. So that's what I'm saying, like a little bit creamy. The rice has still got a little bite to it. It's so good. You could obviously add way more butter, way more cheese and take it really, really creamy, but you wouldn't know that that was a base risotto. It's been flexed into something else. Okay, so I'm gonna do exactly the same thing. Then I'm gonna add the tomatoes. I'll be back in a bit. Okay, while that's happening, salad is one of the most wasted ingredients. And why? Because you're a twat like me and you buy some, you use it for a little bit and then you leave it in the fridge and it wilts. Now, the flavor of that, nothing has changed. All that has changed is it looks shit, right? So look, leaves in there. Just get it in there. It's just gonna wilt down to absolutely nothing and people are gonna be like, oh, what's that trendy thing you put through? Just be like, shit salad leaves, mate. They'll be like, oh, that's so inventive. And then you got this powerful mix. Now, this powerful mix, don't have to use all of it. Just make sure you get a bit of everything. Then all of a sudden, you've got another risotto that is absolutely insane. This lad is on tour. Basil's one of those herbs that if you add during cooking, it will go dark. And then if you chop it too much, it will get bruised. So chop it right at the end, fold it through. This one's looking actually a little bit stodgier than the other. Just lube it out with a little bit of stock. And you've literally got a completely different risotto. Do the old tappy, bit of parmesan, maybe a bit of goat's cheese, maybe some extra feta. There you go. That's another banging risotto. Oh, it's so exciting risotto. Delish. There you go. That is how you do 2 risottos using a base recipe like that, which can be changed into something, anything. There's so many options, and this will, you know, you could cool this down and then ball it into arancini, like I said. But I'm gonna go ask my Italian neighbours if they want some. But look, if you're enjoying this, please comment. If you enjoyed it, what you want to see, who you want to see. This is just a place that I want to collaborate with people and have a laugh. So don't forget to like and subscribe. And if anyone wants to come in and pot wash. Right, love you all. Bye. I'm gonna eat this. Yum.